Failure. It's a word that carries weight, even for adults. But for a child, it can feel like the collapse of their entire world. A missed goal in soccer, a wrong answer in class, a friend who suddenly turns away, a crumpled test paper clenched in a small hand, a whispered, "I'm just not good enough." These moments, seemingly small to us, can echo loudly in the heart of a child. And yet, not every stumble is a defeat. Not every mistake is a verdict. To help our children become resilient, we must first understand how they perceive failure and how that perception shapes their identity. Welcome to Seeds of Tomorrow. Let's begin by exploring the subtle but powerful difference between failure and defeat in the mind of a child. Failure is an event. Defeat is a belief. When a child experiences failure, they are encountering a moment in time, a specific outcome that didn't go as planned, but when that moment becomes internalized as a reflection of their worth, it transforms into defeat. This shift is not automatic. It's shaped by the environment, by the reactions of adults, and by the child's own developing narrative about who they are. Imagine a child who tries to build a tower with blocks. It falls. That's failure. But if the child says, "I'm not good at this," or worse, "I'm stupid," that's defeat. The event has become a story. And stories, especially the ones we tell ourselves, have the power to shape our future. So how does this transformation happen? And more importantly, how can we prevent it? Children are meaning makers. They are constantly interpreting the world around them, trying to understand cause and effect, trying to locate themselves within the larger picture. When something goes wrong, they search for reasons. And if those reasons point inward, if they believe the failure happened because of who they are, they begin to form limiting beliefs. This is where the role of the parent becomes crucial. Our reactions to our children's failures are not just responses, they are mirrors. They reflect back to the child what failure means. If we respond with frustration, disappointment, or shame, we reinforce the idea that failure is bad, that it diminishes their value. But if we respond with curiosity, compassion, and encouragement, we teach them that failure is a natural part of growth. Let's pause here and consider a common scenario. A child comes home with a poor grade on a math test. They're visibly upset. They say, "I'm terrible at math." Now, the parent has a choice. They can say, "You should have studied more," which may be true, but also reinforces the child's negative self-assessment. Or they can say, "Let's look at what confused you. Maybe we can figure it out together." This second response shifts the focus from identity to process. It tells the child, "You are not your mistakes. You are capable of learning." This distinction between identity and process is at the heart of resilience. Children who learn to separate their sense of self from their performance are more likely to persevere. They understand that failure is feedback, not a final judgment. They begin to see challenges as opportunities rather than threats. And this mindset, often called a growth mindset, is one of the most powerful predictors of long-term success. But cultivating this mindset requires more than just positive language. It requires a shift in how we frame success and failure in our homes. Many families, often unintentionally, create environments where achievement is the primary measure of worth. Good grades, trophies, praise for being smart or talented. These messages, while well-meaning, can create pressure. They can make children fear failure, not because of the event itself, but because of what it might say about them. To counter this, we must normalize struggle. We must celebrate effort. We must tell stories, not just of triumph, but of persistence. Share with your child the times you failed. Let them see that you too have stumbled and grown. When failure becomes part of the family narrative, it loses its sting. It becomes familiar. It becomes safe. Let's also talk about language. Words matter. When a child hears, "You're so smart," they may feel proud. But they may also feel trapped. What happens when they don't know the answer? Will they still be smart? Instead, try saying, "I noticed how hard you worked on that," or "You really stuck with it even when it was tough." These phrases reinforce effort, strategy, and resilience. And finally, let's consider the emotional landscape. Failure often brings up feelings of shame, sadness, and frustration. These emotions are not problems to be fixed. They are experiences to be honored. When a child feels safe to express their emotions without fear of judgment, they learn emotional regulation. They learn that feelings come and go, and that they can survive them. So, what does all this mean for us as parents? It means we must become intentional architects of our children's inner world. We must design environments, both physical and emotional, where failure is not feared but embraced, where mistakes are not punished but explored, where identity is not tied to performance but to character. This is not easy. It requires patience, reflection, and sometimes a reparenting of ourselves. But the reward is profound. A child who learns to face failure with courage becomes an adult who can navigate life with resilience. In the next part of this series, we'll explore the inner voice of the child, the quiet, persistent narrative that shapes how they interpret their experiences. We'll look at how parents can influence this voice and how to help children build a self-talk that empowers rather than diminishes. Let's keep walking. The journey has just begun. There's a voice inside every child. It's quiet, persistent, always listening, always speaking. It's the voice that says, "I can do this," or "I'm not good enough." The voice that whispers, "Try again," or "Just give up." This voice doesn't come from nowhere. It's built, brick by brick, word by word, experience by experience. And more often than we realize, it's built by us. As parents, we are the architects of our children's inner dialogue. Not forever, not completely, but in the early years, when the foundation is still soft, when the walls are still rising, our words become their thoughts, our reactions become their beliefs, our tone becomes their truth. So when a child fails, when they stumble, when they fall short, what do they hear? Not just from us, but from themselves. Because the real question is not, did they fail? It's, what story did they tell themselves about that failure? Let's pause here. Imagine a child who misses a goal in soccer. They look down. They feel the sting. They hear the crowd. They hear their coach. They hear their parent. But most importantly, they hear themselves. And what they hear, what they say in that moment, can shape how they show up tomorrow. If the voice says, "I'm terrible at this," or "Everyone's better than me," the child begins to shrink. They begin to doubt. They begin to withdraw. But if the voice says, "That was hard, but I'll try again," or "I missed it, but I'm learning," the child begins to grow. They begin to stretch. They begin to believe. This inner voice, this self-talk, is not just a reflection of personality. It's a skill, a habit, a pattern. And like any pattern, it can be shaped. So how do we shape it? We begin by listening, not just to what our children say out loud, but to what they say when they think no one's listening. The muttered, "I'm so dumb." The quiet, "I can't do anything right." The sighs, the silence. These are clues, signals, windows into the inner world. And when we hear them, we don't correct. We don't dismiss. We don't rush to fix. We reflect. We validate. We guide. Let's take a real moment. Your child spills a glass of juice. They freeze. They say, "I ruin everything." Now, you could say, "No, you don't," or "It's just juice." But what if you said, "Sounds like you're feeling really frustrated with yourself. Want to talk about it?" That response doesn't just clean up the mess. It cleans up the meaning. It tells the child, "I see you. I hear you. You're more than this moment. And that's where healing begins. Because children don't need perfect parents. They need present ones. Ones who notice, ones who name, ones who nurture. Let's go deeper. Self-talk is often shaped by repeated experiences. If a child is constantly corrected, they may internalize the belief that they're always wrong. If a child is constantly praised only when they succeed, they may believe that their worth is tied to achievement. But if a child is seen, heard, and valued, especially in moments of failure, they begin to build a voice that is kind, curious, resilient, and that voice becomes their compass. It guides them through challenges, it steadies them in storms, it reminds them of who they are. So how do we help build that voice? We model it. We speak kindly to ourselves in front of them. We say, "That didn't go as I hoped, but I'll figure it out." We show them that adults fail too, that we stumble, that we learn. We also create space. Space for reflection, space for emotion, space for silence. Because sometimes the inner voice needs quiet to grow. And we ask questions, not to interrogate, but to invite. Questions like, "What did you learn from that?" Or, "What would you say to a friend who felt the way you do?" These questions shift perspective. They open doors. They plant seeds. And over time, those seeds become stories. Stories of strength. Stories of growth. Stories of possibility. Let's not forget the power of repetition. The phrases we use often become the phrases our children repeat. So let's choose wisely. Let's say, "Mistakes help us learn. Feelings are okay. You're growing every day." Let's make these phrases part of the fabric of our homes, part of the rhythm of our days. Because when a child hears these messages enough, they begin to believe them. And when they believe them, they begin to live them. And that's the goal. Not to shield our children from failure, but to equip them with a voice that can carry them through it. A voice that says, "I am enough. I am learning. I am strong." In the next part of this series, we'll explore practical techniques for building resilience, tools and strategies that help children bounce back, reframe mistakes, and develop a mindset of growth. We'll move from understanding to action, from reflection to practice. Let's keep walking. Failure is not the end, it's the beginning of a new skill, a new insight, a new layer of strength. But resilience doesn't just happen, it's built through practice, through repetition, through the quiet, consistent presence of a parent who believes in growth more than perfection. In this final part of our journey, we move from understanding to action, from reflection to practice, from theory to tools, because every child will fall, but not every child will know how to rise. And that's where we come in. Let's begin with the foundation. Resilience is not just about bouncing back, it's about bouncing forward. It's about learning from the fall, about integrating the lesson, about becoming stronger, not just surviving. So how do we help our children bounce forward? We start with mindset. A growth mindset is the belief that abilities can be developed through effort, strategy, and support. It's the opposite of a fixed mindset, which says, you're either good at something or you're not. Children with a growth mindset see challenges as opportunities. They embrace mistakes. They persist through difficulty. And the good news? This mindset can be taught. Here's how. First, normalize struggle. Let your child know that learning is messy, that confusion is part of the process, that no one gets it right the first time. Say things like, "It's okay to feel stuck. That means your brain is working." Or, "Every expert was once a beginner." These phrases reframe difficulty. They turn frustration into fuel. Next, teach the power of yet. When your child says, "I can't do this," add one word, yet. I can't do this yet. This tiny shift opens a door. It moves the statement from final to hopeful, from closed to curious. And over time, yet becomes a habit, a lens, a way of seeing the world. Now let's talk about reflection. After a failure, don't rush to move on. Pause, ask questions, invite your child to explore the experience. What did you learn? What would you do differently next time? What surprised you? These questions build metacognition, thinking about thinking. They help children become aware of their own process, and that awareness is key to growth. Also, celebrate effort, not just results, not just wins, but the trying, the persistence, the courage to begin. Say, I saw how hard you worked, or you kept going even when it was tough. These affirmations build identity. They tell the child, you are someone who tries. You are someone who grows. And that identity becomes a shield, a compass, a source of strength. Let's not forget emotion. Resilience is not just cognitive, it's emotional. Children need to feel safe to feel, to cry, to rage, to grieve. When we allow space for emotion, we teach regulation. We teach that feelings are not dangerous, that they come and go, that we can survive them. So when your child fails, don't just fix the problem. Sit with the feeling. Say, I know that hurt. Or, it's okay to be disappointed. This validation is not weakness, it's strength. It's the soil in which resilience grows. Now let's talk about modeling. Children learn more from what we do than what we say. So let them see you fail. Let them see you try again. Let them hear your inner voice. Say, that didn't go as I hoped, but I'm learning. Or, I'm proud of myself for sticking with it. These moments teach more than any lecture. They show your child that growth is lifelong, that resilience is for everyone. And finally, create rituals. Rituals make resilience tangible. They turn abstract ideas into daily practice. Try a rose and thorn at dinner, one good thing and one hard thing from the day. Try a failure journal, a place to record mistakes and what was learned. Try a courage jar, where your child adds a bead or token every time they try something hard. These rituals build memory, they build meaning, they build momentum. And over time, they build a child who knows how to rise. So what does all this mean? It means that resilience is not a trait, it's a skill, a practice, a way of being. And we, as parents, are the guides, the mentors, the mirrors. We don't protect our children from failure. We prepare them for it. We walk beside them through it. We help them find the strength within it. Because every fall is a chance to rise. Every mistake is a chance to learn. Every challenge is a chance to grow. And when we teach our children this truth, we give them a gift that lasts a lifetime. Thank you for walking this journey with me. If this series resonated with you, if you found insight, comfort, or clarity, I invite you to subscribe to Seeds of Tomorrow. Together, we'll keep exploring, keep growing, keep planting seeds of resilience, wisdom, and love. Until next time, take care of your heart, take care of theirs, and remember, every tomorrow begins with how we show up today.